Hi friends, Prepared Suburbanite here. Over the last couple of weeks or so, life here is starting to resume to some semblance of normal after our recent challenges of my wife's surgery and my surgery as well. It all happened at the same time, unfortunately, but that's the way it goes. But things are getting back to normal. I haven't been very active posting videos on YouTube just because I've been so busy taking care of other things around here. But a recent comment that came in on kind of an older video, maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago, and here's the question. Is prepping a goal without a purpose? Now this comment starts out, what is the goal of all this prepping? I know you said restore the Constitution and survive disasters or whatever, but to what end do you survive? Is it a goal without a purpose? I'm going to answer that right after this. First off, I just don't know where this commenter is coming from. I don't know what has spurred him to get on his keyboard and type all these words together. I don't know if he is saying you don't stand a chance, therefore all the effort that you're putting into prepping isn't going to do you any good. That's kind of one school of thought that, you know, if the sun explodes and the planet just disintegrates, I guess it really isn't going to do us much good. So I guess that's one point of view with respect to the basis for the comment. Another is what I would consider maybe in the category of normalcy bias. You know, it hasn't happened. It's been, right here in the good old USA, there hasn't been a war since the Civil War 150 years ago. So what are you worried about? The economy's doing good, so what are you worried about? Political stuff is always going to be contentious, but it hasn't caused the world to come to an end. The economics are doing good. So what are you worried about, and why do you bother spending a whole bunch of time and money prepping for something that may not ever happen? That's a second school of thought. And what is the goal of all this prepping? Well, the goal, I'm not sure exactly where that's coming from, but if the commenter is saying that you don't have to prepare yourself because you've got a government through FEMA, any kind of natural disaster happens, the government's going to be there to help you out. So what's your goal? You know, if the government's going to be there to help you out, what do you need a goal for, and why are you prepping? So what's the purpose for all this stuff? Well, here's the bottom line. From my perspective, prepping is a responsibility that any adult has because they care for and love their community, they care for and love their family, and they want to make sure that whatever they can plan for, whatever may happen, whatever may not happen, but that they're going to be ready for it. I know what I just experienced over the last couple of months or so. My wife scheduled some surgery, and it was reconstructive to repair some damage to a broken ankle that she did a few years ago. And we knew that we were going to be kind of down and out, and she was going to be off her feet for 6 or 8 weeks. And that was planned for. We took it upon ourselves to pre-prepare some meals and freeze them so that all I had to do was just pop a couple of things in a microwave or something in the oven for 45 minutes, and we could have dinner and wouldn't have to be burdened or bothered with cooking or preparing. Made sure that our food stores were up to snuff, made sure that we had a full tank of gas in the vehicle and that we had enough water and that the house was buttoned up and all that. So we had pretty much everything that we could think of planned for in advance. And then during her recovery, maybe just a week into it, I ended up with a pretty serious medical condition and ended up having to have an emergency appendectomy. They did it laparoscopically. I was in on Wednesday night and home on Thursday afternoon. It was all laparoscopic kind of stuff, pretty almost non-invasive, but really invasive. So what that did was knock me off my feet for probably 10 days. I wasn't supposed to be doing anything. I wasn't supposed to drive. I wasn't supposed to lift anything that weighed, that had any weight to it. And slowly, kind of gradually get back into it as things internally healed. And I still had my wife to take care of because she couldn't ambulate. She can't get around the house, or couldn't at the time, without a lot of assistance and all that kind of stuff. So our friends, our family, our church family, our church community reached out to us and say, hey, what can we do to help? And we said, hey, you can help us do this and you can help us do that. And they did. Trips to the grocery store, bringing pre-prepared meals to us, that kind of stuff. It was very, very helpful. And that's all part of the prepping plan. You take care of yourself, and you have a group of friends and a community that are willing to reach out and help. So that's part one of why I think prepping is very, very important. You don't know what's going to happen today. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. There could be all kinds of things going on. To what end do you survive? Well, there's that old saying that there's no atheists in a foxhole. So when you're faced with a life and death kind of a situation, everything that you do, everything that you're thinking about, every step you take, every plan you make is really all about your survival. And that's the end. That's the goal, is to survive. If you're on a battlefield, if you're in the middle of a hurricane or a tornado, whatever, you take shelter. You do what you need to do to survive and keep those that are around you safe and secure to the best of your ability. In order to be able to function at the best of your ability, you need to be prepared in advance to deal with it. Got to have food, got to have water, got to have shelter, got to have a place to go if your primary place to go is compromised in some form or fashion. You need to have those kinds of plans put together. There are three kinds of, three classifications of stuff that can happen. Personal stuff, like I just experienced with a health crisis. A job loss can be extraordinarily devastating, and I've been through one of those, and it's no fun when you run out of funds, you have no income, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to get from point A on the calendar to point B on the calendar, and you still got debts and obligations. Yeah, it's pretty tough. And what do? You make a plan to right the wrong, to fix whatever's going on, to go get a job, to go hang a shingle and start your own business, to raise some capital, to raise some income. I did both, and it worked. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to do that, and I learned a ton by going through that process. The next level, I think, are natural, and that's the natural disasters, storms, thunderstorms, snowstorms, hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, that kind of stuff. The power goes out, and what do? You got a flashlight? Yep. You got a couple of little battery-operated lanterns. You got a battery-operated radio so that you can find out what's going on in the neighborhood, find out what's going on in the region, when's this all supposed to fix itself, that kind of stuff. So that first level storms, floods, tornadoes, hurricanes, snowstorms, that kind of a thing, pretty much every single one of those is going to cause a loss of power. You're gonna be compromised in some fashion. Do you have a way to cook your food? Do you have a way to deal with water and have a source of water? In the middle of winter, everything's frozen, so you can't go down to the local stream and pull a bucket of water out. What are you going to do? Well, have you thought about what you're going to do, and do you have a plan for it? You got to have a plan for water. We've got quite a lot of water stored. You get pallets of plastic bottles and filled with water, that kind of stuff. We've got 55-gallon drums that catch rainwater for using for gray water kinds of things, flushing toilets, bathing, showering, that kind of stuff. And that kind of water can be sterilized, can be filtered in some of the modern day filtering techniques, where you can actually create drinkable, potable water that you can survive on. The third tier, I think, in the disasters and the things that we need to be planning for is what I'm going to call the SHTF kinds of events. Pandemics, economic collapses, wars. I mean, a war could happen right here in the United States, right here on this soil, and that's going to be an SHTF kind of an event. The supervolcano, whatever's going to happen in Yellowstone, is going to have a worldwide devastating effect on economics, on the climate, on our ability to survive. We could get hit with an asteroid or a meteor or whatever. Ask the dinosaurs of 65 million years ago how they fared and how they made out after that big one hit 65 million years ago. Pretty much that whole species was eradicated from the face of the earth because of that meteor that hit in the Gulf of Mexico. Are we going to survive every single one of those kinds of things? Absolutely not. When you're down and subject to the challenges and the pains that go into surviving, you're going to want to survive. You're going to want to have the tools necessary, the supplies necessary, and the resources necessary to be able to make it. So to answer your question, Mr. Commenter, what is the goal of all this prepping? And you said it, I think you answered your own question. It's survival. It's getting through that period of time, that emergency. My sense is that because I think it's really normalcy bias is what has triggered this comment. Everything's going just fine. We've got supermarkets right down the street. We got all the food and the water we could ever possibly want. We got a mode of transportation. We got houses. We got hotels and motels. We got everything. Transportation systems, 4-lane highways, interstates, travel, air flight. You name it, we got it all. And it's been that way for years and years and years, and nothing's ever happened. So what are you worried about? I think that's what's really motivating this kind of a comment. I hope that I've addressed some of the missing information that's underlying this kind of a question. This is the Prepared Suburbanite, reminding you to be prepared always and I'll see you all on the next video.